What popular saying is actually bullshit. Looks don't matter. They do. Not always, not completely, but they very much do matter. Humans are kind of superficial in that regard. I used to be 400 pounds when I was in my 20s. A few years ago I hit around 180 and the amount of doors that opened were insane. Everyone was suddenly nicer to me, I was able to find jobs with ease, just everything was easier. Looks definitely matter. People would tell me that potential employers decide if a person is the right fit for the job within the first 5 seconds of the interview. For years I thought it was BS until I was on the other side of the table. A candidate who walks into the room wearing a suit and carries themselves in a confident demeanor is going to make me much more comfortable than someone with a perpetual slouch wearing a polo and jeans, even if the latter is 10x more qualified. I wish we as humans had more control over that, but it's just instinctual. Fun fact, I was actually laughed at, in a light-hearted manner, for wearing a suit to a job interview in the marijuana industry in Colorado. Got the job anyways, but was told for future reference that a polo and jeans is as dressed up as I need to be for interviews in this industry. Have held 2 different jobs in the industry since. Wore a polo and jeans for both interviews, and was told by both interviewers that they agree with what the first guy said, money can't buy happiness. Poverty can't buy anything. Fun story, in high school I was bullied daily, by the same girls. It went on for months, I did everything you're supposed to do. My principal's advice was to get an older student to walk around with me. They finally cornered me and beat me up. I was suspended because I was involved in a fight. They used the "doesn't matter who started" a line on me too. It was my fault because I just happened to get my ass kicked that day. Yeah, this is one of the most illogical, brain-damaged and nonsensical lines I have ever heard. It doesn't matter who started it? Like, okay, let's apply this logic to World War II. Does it make sense? Of course it fucking doesn't, and I don't know why it should. I agree. I'm still mad about it and I've been out of high school for 10 years. Of course it matters, they're just too lazy to figure out who started it. Just punish everyone instead, sleep like a baby. It implies that babies sleep really well. My second is 4 days old, I can confirm babies don't sleep well. I always come back at them with the fact that I would actually enjoy sleeping like a teenager instead. Those fuckers will sleep 14 hours without waking once and pop out of bed like they don't hurt everywhere. That's what I want. Haha, I tell that to all my crew and guys when they're hired. If you fuck up, tell me, don't hide it. I know what we can get away with and what we can't. I don't mind when people screw up and let me know, shows they're willing to try. I hate people that sit on their hands and look confused and wait for someone else to tackle it. I tell my 7-year-old son, if you tell me the truth, the punishment isn't as bad. When he follows through he still gets punished, but I explain what would have happened if he lied. Tell the truth? 10 minutes time out in the corner. Lie? Grounded for the entire night. Works pretty well. This is better. Teaching honesty instead of encouraging a good lie will pay off far better during false accusation situations of all severities. I don't want him scared of telling the truth, even if it's something I'd be mad about. If he's scared now, I could only imagine the stuff he'll try as teenager. My niece was a prime example of this. In an attempt to sound as non-creepy as possible, my niece hit the genetic lottery. I'm sure you can figure out what I mean by that. She was hot, she knew it, and she took advantage of it every chance she got. She bragged about it. She was constantly in trouble with the law, and benefited from pretty white girl syndrome. She was constantly given probation for things that would have gotten any other girl thrown in juvenile hall, jail, because she made sure to show up to court with one extra button unbuttoned, makeup looking perfect, and when that didn't work, turning on the waterworks and promising that this time she'll really never do it again. Her crimes included everything up to and including helping her boyfriend steal a car. He went to jail. She got probation. Again. Sadly, she had absolutely no idea how to mentally handle it when Pretty White Girl didn't work anymore. She was in her early 20s, and was convicted of armed robbery. She was given a sentence of, I think, 10 years and ended up committing suicide barely a month into it. I used to be 400 pounds when I was in my 20s. A few years ago I hit around 180 and the amount of doors that opened were insane. Everyone was suddenly nicer to me, I was able to find jobs with ease, just everything was easier. Looks definitely matter. I read the book Survival of the Prettiest 20 years or so ago, changed my worldview. One thing of note, she posits that being good-looking usually helps, but at some point, being really good-looking starts to worsen your outcomes. Edit for spelling of prettiest. What goes around, comes around. I've seen so many good, honest people get screwed over by toxic, immoral people who never get their comeuppance. The concept of karma is bullshit. Edit. Maybe karma was a bad word to use, as it has many definitions. The version I use here is the one commonly used within the secular communities of the Western world, that is within one lifetime. Rich people get away with horrible shit. Some corrupt politicians retire and never get caught. Murderers have lived normal, sometimes fruitful lives until they died without ever facing prosecution. I've seen some of the best people get screwed over and screwed up by the shit thrown at them. No, the world is not some magical place where the scale balances itself out. It's actually worse than that too, because ultimately they are being rewarded for their shitty behavior. This creates reinforcement in their actions which promotes and incentivizes that behavior in others. Mix in any form of punishment for doing the opposite and you get an incredibly toxic society, to say the least. My grandmother said that to my dad once, when he was a kid, before a spanking. When she pulled her arm back for the first swing, she accidentally whacked the radiator and broke her hand. It really did hurt her more than it did him. My mom was trying to find me as a child once on our property and couldn't. We had a big property, and I was in imagination land outside. When she found me, she ruthlessly decided to vent her frustrations by turning my over the old knee. My mom liked a good skin-on-skin session, so she pulls my pants down and starts to go to town. She doesn't make it far into town before realizing something is different this time. It seems to be more interactive, if you will. In her blind rage, she didn't take the time to be aware of her surroundings. She got a case of tunnel vision. If she had been more present, she would have noticed that when she found me I was standing in a weird corner with my legs crossed, pinching a poop. Well, needless to say, yet completely worth saying, my mom tried to spank the shit out of me and didn't notice I was already halfway there. With a scream, reality hit her and she realized she had poo all over her hand and banished me from her presence. I've never been more relieved. TLDR, Mom tried to spank the shit out of me, didn't realize I was halfway there. Her righteous hand of God went from delivering justice to shit shovel in a matter of about 4 smacks. Never judge a book by its cover. As someone who works in a bookshop, you're damn right I'm gonna judge the quality of a book by its production. As do most customers. I have gotten insights into the world of publishing and the decisions they make based on the quality and success of the product they are pushing. For instance, an author just starting out? The catchy title of the book is going to be the biggest text on the book. The author has brought out 3-4 books that are proving successful. The text size of their name is going to be equal to the title. Ian Rankin or Kate Atkinson? Their name is going to be the biggest text on that cover because that's what draws customers in. I remember chatting to James Oswald, who said I knew I had made it when my name got bigger. Our Scottish buyer is very good at sniffing out underdog books. Books that are incredibly well written, but haven't got the recognition they deserve, and she will discuss with the publisher about changing the cover of the book to reflect this. Suddenly huge boosts in sales. When a customer is looking for an obscure title, and I look it up, I can almost immediately tell if it's a low-quality independent publication by the way the cover looks. Disclaimer, much like with the underdogs, there are always exceptions to rules. And it is definitely not always the case that a low-quality looking book is necessarily a bad read. It's just often an indication of a first-time or unpublished author, who hasn't had a chance to hone their craft yet. I came in to post this. The opposites attract sentiment only stands up on a superficial level. When you probe deeper you always discover there is a lot of commonality. My mom and dad look like chalk and cheese on the surface, but below all of that they are wired very similarly. I thought my wife and I to be pretty different people. We don't share a lot of common interests. But it's the subsurface stuff that just continually made me realize how like we are. And then I got an outside perspective recently when a co-worker said we talk the same. He insists one of us must have learned it from the other, but maybe it was just another commonality. My wife and I share core values, but we couldn't be more different. However, our differences complement each other. Where I'm weak, she is strong, etc. Yin and yang. She is highly organized and will schedule every aspect of a vacation a year in advance. You'll have to remind me a week before that we're going on vacation. However, when a plan falls apart so does she. Luckily, I'm the opposite and I am highly adaptable to whatever is currently going on. So she might plan out every aspect of a road trip, but if a tire goes flat, she's in total panic mode. But I'll get us back on the road even though I only vaguely know where we are supposed to be going. I've tried to ward my house to the best of my abilities, apples near each door and window, apple-scented candles, maintaining a constant supply of apples and apple products in my kitchen. Nothing works. The doctors. They are relentless. They're clever, systematically searching for a breach in my defenses. When I close my eyes, I can feel their icy stethoscopes. I just ate my first apple today, but it is all in vain. The ache in my knees from their mallets warns me they are drawing near. I took an apple from my kitchen to carry with me around the house. I sat down on my couch, only to hear the crinkle of wax paper beneath me. I caught a glimpse of a white coat outside my window. I wanted to believe it wasn't real. But my worst fears were realized when I heard the murmur of what seems to be the problem here, today. They're here, but for every Tom Cruise, there are 10,000 people who didn't make it. Exactly, even when it comes to TV stars. Just look up IMDb of characters in TV shows you are watching, even the main characters. Many of these people have been acting for decades, one episode at a time for a different show each time with a range of minor roles. The reason I say to look at the main characters also is many of them did the same for decades before landing the main role in whatever show you are watching. Then, look at how many of them ever make it to film stars. Then think back to shows you watched 10 years ago, look up the main characters from them. Many of them will not have done anything remotely as important since. What I am saying is that, even on the steps of the ladder close to Tom Cruise, there are still hundreds if not thousands of people who want to claim every one top spot to become a well-known name/star/brand etc.